ये आकाशवाणी है। समाचार सेवा प्रभाग प्रस्तुत करता है विशेष श्रृंखला सेवा पर्व। इसके पहले संस्करण में आज सुनिए बड़े सुधारों से सुशासन की ओर बढ़ता भारत। इसमें भाग ले रहे हैं राजनीतिक विश्लेषक प्रफुल्ल केतकर और वरिष्ठ पत्रकार अदिति टंडन। कार्यक्रम का संचालन कर रही हैं पत्रकार टीना झा।
This is Akashvani. News Services Division presents special series Seva Parv. Let's listen to the first episode, Transforming Governance Through Bold Reforms. The participants are Prafulla Ketkar, political analyst, and Aditi Tandon, senior journalist. Moderator is Tina Jha, journalist.
मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि वो दिन दूर नहीं जब भारत दुनिया की तीसरी सबसे बड़ी इकोनॉमी का लक्ष्य हासिल करेगा। भारत का तो विजन है विकास भी विरासत भी। साथियों, हम आज दुनिया की चौथी इकोनॉमी बने। 2047 आजादी के 100 साल होंगे जब, तब हम विकसित भारत बन के रहेंगे। ये सपने लेकर के चलना चाहिए।
In this series of special programs over the next few days, we will take a closer look at India's remarkable journey of transformation over the past decade, driven by bold decisions and forward-looking reforms. In today's episode, our focus is on transformative governance, which has brought in greater transparency, efficiency, and accountability in public life. Joining me for a conversation are two distinguished guests. I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Prafull Ketkar and Ms. Aditi Tandon. Thank you to both our guests for joining us on the program. Let's begin the conversation with you, Mr. Ketkar. So, पिछले एक दशक में 11 साल में कहें तो प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के नेतृत्व में भारत ने सुशासन के क्षेत्र में बड़े पैमाने पर सुधार देखे हैं। आपके दृष्टिकोण में सुधारों में सबसे बड़ा और सबसे प्रभावशाली बदलाव अगर कोई रहा तो एक ब्रॉडर विजन में आप किस बदलाव के बारे में बताना चाहेंगे?
पिछले 11 साल में मुझे लगता है सबसे बड़ा जो बदलाव आया है वो जो नीतियां निर्धारित हुई उनकी डिलीवरी पर आया है, क्योंकि उसके पीछे का अप्रोच अलग था। चाहे हम स्वच्छता का ले ले, पीएम आवास का ले ले, हर घर जल योजना का ले ले, या डीबीटी जैसी स्कीम का ले ले, तो जिस स्केल पर पीएम सोचते हैं और जिस स्केल पर फिर वो डिलीवर करते हैं, उसमें दो फंडामेंटल चीजें आई है। एक, लोक सहभागिता बढ़ी है। पीपल्स पार्टिसिपेशन हैज इंक्रीज्ड ट्रिमेंडसली ऑन वेरियस थिंग्स। तो वो पीपल्स पार्टिसिपेशन से स्कीम्स को ड्राइव करना, स्वच्छ भारत अभियान उसका एक क्लासिक उदाहरण है। दूसरा, मुझे जो बड़ा अंतर लगता है ना, कि पहली बार ऐसा हुआ है कि सरकार की डिलीवरी के यूनिट में, खास करके जब हम उज्ज्वला जैसी योजना के बारे में सोचते हैं या शौचालय के जैसे विषय के बारे में सोचते हैं, तो इवन पीएम आवास में महिला केंद्र स्थान में आने के कारण क्या हुआ, पहली बार सरकार की योजनाओं की डिलीवरी का यूनिट फैमिली बन गया। व्यक्ति नहीं रहा, केवल परिवार उस विकास योजना का केंद्र बनना, क्योंकि एक महिला उसके केंद्र में आती है, उसके नाम पर घर बनता है, उसके नाम पर गैस सिलेंडर आता है, तो वो केवल उस महिला का नहीं रहता, वो पूरे घर का बन जाता है।
मेरे प्यारे देशवासियों, बीता दशक रिफॉर्म, परफॉर्म, ट्रांसफॉर्म कर रहा है, लेकिन अब हमें और नई ताकत से जुड़ना। पिछले दिनों हमने कई रिफॉर्म्स किए। एफडीआई हो, इंश्योरेंस कंपनी की बात हो, विश्व की यूनिवर्सिटीज को भारत के अंदर स्थान देने की बात हो, कई रिफॉर्म्स किए। 40,000 से ज्यादा अनावश्यक कंप्लायंसेस को हमने खत्म किया है। हमने रिफॉर्म की यात्रा को तेज करने के लिए बीड़ा उठाया। हम बहुत तेजी से आगे बढ़ना चाहते हैं। स्ट्रक्चरल रिफॉर्म्स की बात हो, रेगुलेटरी रिफॉर्म्स की बात हो, पॉलिसी रिफॉर्म की चर्चा हो, प्रोसेस रिफॉर्म की चर्चा हो, प्रोसीड्यूरल रिफॉर्म्स करने की जरूरत हो, हर प्रकार के रिफॉर्म्स ये आज हम मकसद बना करके चले।
Administrative reforms. The Modi government is spearheading a series of sweeping administrative and bureaucratic reforms aimed at creating a governance system that is transparent, efficient, and truly citizen-centric. These next-generation reforms are focused on transforming grievance redressal mechanism, improving public service delivery, and strengthening the capabilities of India's civil services. One of the flagship initiatives under the scheme is the Centralized Public Grievance Redress and Monitoring System. This is an online platform for citizens to lodge and track complaints against various government departments and authorities. In parallel, the government has placed a strong emphasis on capacity building within the civil services. Under Mission Karm Yogi, civil servants now have access to a collaborative learning ecosystem designed to help them continuously develop behavioral, functional, and domain-specific competencies. Looking to unlock untapped potential, the government also launched Pratibha, the professional resource and talent integration bridge for hiring aspirants. This platform offers verified organizations access to data of UPSC aspirants from various competitive exams who, despite not being recommended for civil service roles, are eager to contribute to public service. Pratibha provides these skilled individuals with alternative avenues to participate in nation building. Together, these reforms underscore the government's unwavering commitment to building a governance model that is responsive, streamlined, and truly citizen-first.
Let me also get a broader vision from you, Ms. Tandon, on how transformative or how impactful some of the reforms have been. We saw when the Prime Minister came to power in 2014, he spoke about minimum government, maximum governance. In the last 11 years, how has that played out in realistic terms, and what kind of impact do you see that having had?
The biggest administrative reform in the country has been cutting down on needless red tape. We've all grown up with the necessity of getting our certificates as students later in the college, earlier in schools, attested by gazetted officers. So that is on the surface a very minor provision, but it is a life-changing thing that the government has dropped that requirement, and self-attestation of documents is now permitted, which means there's a greater trust that the government is trying to repose in the citizens, that we believe in what you are doing. So that is one thing. Then you have seen that the needless requirement of interviews at various levels of government, even for class 3, class 4 employees, has been done away with. These kind of reforms have changed the way the youth of the country are accessing opportunities, accessing jobs, and accessing the huge employment market that is available to them right now. In the administrative sector, we also have to consider the fact that nearly 40,000 compliances that were again, very small things. For instance, there was one very strange provision in our laws which said that if a government office toilet is found unclean, the attendant can be jailed. This has been carrying on since colonial times. Somebody had to come and drop it. So these kind of very small, strange provisions that have existed on the statute mindlessly.
पिछला एक दशक देश में गुड गवर्नेंस का दशक रहा है। गुड गवर्नेंस और विकास की धारा रिफॉर्म्स की गंगोत्री से ही निकलती है। देश ने लगातार बड़े रिफॉर्म्स किए हैं। हमारे रिफॉर्म्स कंसिस्टेंट भी हैं, डायनेमिक भी हैं और दूरदर्शी भी हैं। पिछले 11 साल में देश ने एक ऐसी शासन प्रणाली विकसित की है जो पारदर्शी है, संवेदनशील है और सिटीजन सेंट्रिक है।
Digital governance reforms.
In the last 11 years, there has been a paradigm shift in public service delivery and the implementation of government schemes. The Modi government has revolutionized governance by placing digital technologies at the heart of citizen services. The Digital India Mission, launched in 2015, transformed how the government interacts with people, ensuring transparency, speed, and accessibility. Through JAM, that is, Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, and Mobile Trinity, direct benefit transfers have eliminated leakages in government schemes. India Post Payments Bank, along with the Unified Payments Interface, that is UPI, BHIM app, and RuPay card, has made digital payments universal. India's fintech adaptation has increased the ease of doing business. Common service centers empower villagers with digital access to schemes and online services. Platforms like MyGov, Government e-Marketplace that is GEM, and CP Grams have deepened participatory governance and increased transparency. Through initiatives like DigiLocker, Umang app, eSign, and Aadhaar-enabled services, millions of citizens now access vital facilities without any delay. Digitalization of the vaccination drive through the CoWIN platform allowed India to ensure equity and accessibility in vaccine distribution. It showcased the digital prowess of India to the world. The Modi government has shown an unwavering commitment to using technology for inclusive development and to promote ease of living. The digital reforms by the Modi government have empowered citizens, strengthened accountability, and placed India on the path to becoming a global digital leader.
The technological transformation, Mr. Ketkar, has been by far the most remarkable and the most significant in our country. We built a globally acclaimed digital public infrastructure through Aadhaar, UPI, the JAM Trinity. Talk to us and our listeners about how do you see these having strengthened our foundation?
We had somehow typical socialist approach or hangover, I would say. We got into the globalization mode, but still when it comes to technology, our first reaction used to be, job chale jayenge.
Yeah,
because technology would replace the manpower, and that's why this government had changed the approach. This government said, no, technology can be facilitator when it comes to the implementation of the schemes. So technology-driven governance became a very important tool. For example, tenders. Most of the railway lines that have come up, can you imagine the major railway tracks? For example, you take this Meerut-Dehradun corridor or railway line going up to northeast to Mizoram or even in Kashmir. This was not possible simply because there were simultaneous, one after another clearances you had required before clearing that tender. Besides the railway ministry, local revenue, then forest, then environment. Now one simple thing that digitally, simultaneously all the clearances will be given. And in this process, no human intervention will be involved. Everything will be done technologically. So this thing not just facilitated the process, expedited the process, this has also ensured that the corrupt practices that were involved at every stage to move the file ahead got reduced. And because of that, even the case like DBT like platform was there earlier also. But the way JAM was introduced, the way banking sector was taken to every household, and again, many people do not understand. Why I am insisting this? Because that time the target for banks was every family should have one account. Because whatever delivery has to be done is to the family. So this is a typical Indian approach in terms of individual, and there technology has played a very important role. Then came the UPI and the UPI Bheem, and the way now it is being accepted throughout the world. Almost 17 countries are now terms to accept this. Many developed countries are, youth especially should understand. I remember while traveling in the US, many people do not believe that just one click and you can do the transaction, because without permission from a designated bank and without putting your ID and password, how can you do a transaction?
In fact, I also have friends who've spoken about how easy it is for all of us here in this part of the world that without even carrying your wallet, you're able to do purchases. That's the kind of simplification that has happened, Mr. Tandon, in the lives of citizens. Taking on from what he spoke about, some of the reforms like the DBT. And a lot of these existed on paper even before the Prime Minister took charge. It's just the manner in which it was implemented or it was made part of people's lives that brought about the change. DBT transfers, DigiLocker, online grievance redressal. All of these citizen-centric digital reforms have simplified our lives. But how do you see them also having brought people closer to the government?
What I feel is that the digital economy is moving very fast as a major pillar of the larger Indian economy. And in fact, right now, if you look at the latest data that was available, it will tell you that 11% contribution to the economy is from the digital economy. This is projected to go further to about 15% in a very short time. What it means for a common man is that the common man is coming closer to the government. For example, let's talk about the technological or the digital revolution that you mentioned. Internet connections are increasing in the country. Compare between 2014 to now, I think 2014 the figure was around 26 crore internet connections. It has come to almost 100 crore today. Similarly, phone connections have gone up. Broadband connections have gone up significantly. In fact, broadband has reached, I'm told, if I'm correct, the figure is nearly 6.15 lakh villages out of 6.44 lakh villages. It simply means that not just the digital divide is being bridged, even the rural-urban divide is being bridged. So those artificial limitations that existed because of space, they are being shattered.
डिजिटल इंडिया यूपीआई आज भारत के एक नए सामर्थ्य को दुनिया देख रही है, पहचान रही है और ज्यादातर देश में उसके प्रति एक आकर्षण पैदा हो रहा है। यूपीआई ने फिनटेक की दुनिया में अपने एक नाम कमाया है। रियल टाइम डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शन सबसे ज्यादा हो रहे हैं। मैं दुनिया के जिस भी देश में जाता हूं वहां जनधन, आधार और मोबाइल जेम ट्रिनिटी की बहुत चर्चा होती है।
Economic and tax reforms.
Just a decade ago, India was counted among the fragile 5 economies. Today, in 2025, it has risen to become the world's 4th largest economy and is steadily progressing towards becoming the 3rd largest. Despite a global landscape marked by geopolitical conflicts and rising US tariffs, India has retained its position as the fastest growing major economy. The key reforms which have driven this transformation are the introduction of GST under the One Nation, One Tax framework, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, which streamlined the resolution of insolvency cases, liberalization of FDI rules, opening private investment in sectors like space and atomic energy, the removal of retrospective taxation and the angel tax, the launch of the National Single Window System, labor law reforms, the formulation of a new national logistics policy, and the creation of a vibrant startup ecosystem. Flagship initiatives such as the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana and Digital India have integrated financial inclusion with broader economic reforms. The widespread adoption of digital payments and the UPI has fostered a transparent, efficient, and inclusive financial ecosystem. Over the past 11 years, India's economy has undergone a profound transformation and is now firmly advancing towards the ambitious goal of self-reliance.
Coming to the next reforms, which is the economic and tax reforms. GST in this area was a landmark step. How do you evaluate the role of GST over the years in strengthening both our federal as well as the economic structure?
I think post-independent period, GST is the classic example of what is popularly called now as the cooperative federalism. Because first time the center or the union and the state governments coming together, first of all, this was the act that was passed almost unanimously. It has clearly proved that when it comes to the taxation process, it has streamlined. There were initial hitches when it come to the filing of GST returns. If one vehicle is moving with goods from, say, in the northern part and going towards south, it used to pay multiple taxes. That has been consolidated and GST has become such a convenient tool.
Faceless tax assessments and corporate tax reductions, I recall when these reforms came in, they were also pitched as pro-business reforms. But as we shattered the skepticism and the concerns around the UPI and the DBT, what impact do you see these reforms, the faceless tax assessments and the corporate tax reductions, having had on businesses and the taxpayers both?
A lot of rationalization of the tax structure has happened. In fact, the speech that Nirmala Sitharaman gave during the budget this year, you will realize that the thrust of her speech, in fact, the new Income Tax Act itself, which replaces the 1971 law, is a major measure towards simplifying the tax structure for the common man. A lot of provisions in the original act have been done away with. Income Tax Act and provisions and forms etc. have been made simpler. I think some 84 provisions which have been brought down to some 40 provisions. And see, faceless assessment, what does it do? It simply cuts away the scope of corruption in income tax assessments and realizations. The focus of the entire budget presentation and all the direct tax reforms which were announced by the finance minister in the budget of this year was basically putting more money in the hands of the middle class. Okay. The first major reform that they took was zero income tax on annual income up to 12 lakh, which means 1 lakh income per month is not going to be taxable at all. Not just that, even the tax reduction at source was largely rationalized. The caps on TDS deduction limits were raised for senior citizens. Compliance burdens were significantly reduced for industry. And one very important reform that happened was the income tax filing period was increased, like assessment from 2 years to 4 years. So these are all fitting well into the financial and tax reform structure of the government, where the larger purpose is to encourage people to come under the tax net. What is the challenge that India is facing? We are a huge population, but our tax base is very narrow.
Yes.
How do we improve the tax base? You improve the tax base by encouraging taxpayers, by incentivizing those who are paying taxes. Industry is paying taxes, so you reduce compliances. The 40,000 compliances that we discussed earlier basically ease life for a lot of industry, because these were needless criminal provisions. Choti baaton par criminal provisions were there, which have all been done away with. Jan Vishwas Bill has been brought, where the life of citizens has been made easier. So everything put together, what will it eventually achieve is a psychological booster for the population कि tax देने में क्या problem है, it's so easy, what is the big deal? That's where the government is taking people, voluntary payment of tax.
बहुत बड़ा रिफॉर्म इनकम टैक्स एक्ट में हुआ है. करीब 280 से ज्यादा धाराएं हमने समाप्त करने का निर्णय किया है. हमने नागरिक के जीवन को भी आसान बनाने के लिए रिफॉर्म की. कभी किसी ने सोचा नहीं था कि 12 लाख रुपए तक का इनकम टैक्स पर जीरो कर दिया जाएगा. आज कर लिया है. फेसलेस असेसमेंट की बात हो, रिफॉर्म का परिणाम है. 12 लाख तक आज इनकम टैक्स से मुक्ति दे देना. देश का जो भविष्य बनाने में उत्सुक है, ऐसा मेरा मध्यम वर्ग का परिवार आज खुला नहीं समा रहा है.
Infrastructure reforms.
India is on a fast track to transforming its infrastructure landscape. As the world's fourth largest economy, the country has made record-breaking investments in infrastructure. In the financial year 2024-2025 alone, the government has allocated over 11 lakh crore rupees for capital investment. At the heart of this transformation is the Pradhan Mantri Gati Shakti National Master Plan. This initiative brings together planning from 44 central ministries and 36 states and union territories. Complementing Gati Shakti are several sector-specific mega programs. The Bharatmala Pariyojana is redefining India's road network through economic corridors, border roads and expressways. Meanwhile, the Sagarmala program is spearheading port-led development. The aviation sector is also soaring. Udan scheme has boosted connectivity to remote regions and helped India emerge as the third largest aviation market in the world. In urban India, a metro revolution is underway. Metro rail coverage has grown from just 248 kilometers in 2014 to a massive 945 kilometers in 2024, easing congestion and enhancing urban mobility. From highways to airports, metros to maritime hubs, India's infrastructure push is not just about building roads and runways. It's about linking people to opportunities, boosting trade and tourism, and paving the way for an inclusive and connected future.
Moving on now to the infrastructure reforms, Mr. Ketkar. भारतमाला, सागरमाला, गति शक्ति, ये प्रमुख योजनाएं हैं जो हमारे लॉजिस्टिक्स व्यवस्था को काफी बदल रही हैं पिछले कुछ सालों में. भारत की आर्थिक प्रगति के लिए ये कितने अहम रहे हैं, और इसको अगर मैं थोड़ा टैक्स से भी जोड़ दूं कि एक विश्वास हो लोगों में कि हम जो टैक्स दे रहे हैं वो हमारे पैसे इस चीज में लग रहे हैं, वो विजिबल है हमें, उसका कितना असर पड़ा है.
उड़ान जैसी स्कीम क्लासिक एग्जाम्पल है. आप केवल रोड्स की बात कर रहे हैं, एयरपोर्ट्स के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में जिस तरह का, और कॉमन मैन को एयर ट्रैवल का एक्सपीरियंस, पिछले 70 साल में एयर ट्रैवल वाज बियॉन्ड इमेजिनेशन फॉर अ कॉमन पर्सन, इट वाज वेरी एलिटिस्ट काइंड ऑफ थिंग। अभी वो बदल गया है और छोटे शहरों में भी एयरपोर्ट्स की फैसिलिटी इतने आसानी से पहुंच गई है। एंड व्हेन यू गेट गुड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, आपको वो टैक्स देने में कुछ लगता भी नहीं, क्योंकि आपको रिटर्न में सर्विसेज मिल रही है। और चाहे रेलवे हो, चाहे रोड्स हो, स्पेशली रोड्स की कनेक्टिविटी के बारे में एक महत्वपूर्ण बात जो है, आप देखेंगे कि बहुत सारे रोड के प्रोजेक्ट्स, एक तो उसका स्केल भी है, उसका स्पीड भी है। पिछले 11 साल में उसका अंतर हम क्लियरली देख सकते हैं कि हाउ स्पीडीली बिग नेशनल हाईवेज हैव बीन डेवलप्ड। बट उसके साथ साथ उसके बारे में बहुत क्रिएटिव सोच भी है। जैसे in hilly areas there are many roads that are constructed, and every kilometer besides other facilities, road travel में चाहे food related हो, चाहे toilets related हो, लेकिन उसके साथ साथ local produce के लिए वहां पे कोई ना कोई आउटलेट उपलब्ध कराना, या हुनर जैसा स्कीम शुरू करना और उसको इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट के साथ कनेक्ट करना। तो पहले क्या होता था कि एक्विजिशन, इसमें सबसे बड़ा रिफॉर्म एक्चुअली जो था, जिसमें रोड साइड एग्रीकल्चर और कमर्शियल प्रॉपर्टी के कॉम्पेंसेशन की प्रोसेस जितनी फास्ट हुई ना, उसके कारण जो रोड कंस्ट्रक्शन में, मुझे स्मरण है, आई थिंक इट वाज इन 2015 व्हेन यूपीए गवर्नमेंट लेफ्ट, 943 रोड प्रोजेक्ट्स वेयर पेंडिंग, और जिनको कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स मिले थे उन्होंने बैंकों से लोन लिए हुए हैं, hundreds of crores of loans. So virtually this government ensured that जिन्होंने लोन लिया है, जो बैंक है, इनके बीच में मीडिएट करके इसमें से रास्ता निकाल के, क्योंकि कहीं पे एनवायरमेंटल क्लियरेंस के कारण, कहीं पे लैंड एक्विजिशन के कारण, तो ऑल ओवर आपका अप्रोच यदि ये रहा कि डिलीवर क्या करना है, किसके लिए करना है, उसमें से क्या साध्य करना है, तो फिर उसमें से बुलेट ट्रेन भी आती है, उसमें से सागरमाला भी डेवलप होता है। मैरीटाइम की तरफ देखने की हमारी सोच बदल गई उसके कारण। इवन हमारे रिवर रूट्स जो है वो जितने रिवाइव हुए, स्पेशली 7-8 वर्षों में, एक जमाने में भारत का सबसे ज्यादा ट्रेड थ्रू रिवर्स हुआ करता था। वी नीड टू वर्क ऑन दोज इनहेरेंट पोटेंशियल, और दिस गवर्नमेंट हैज राइटली टेकन डिसीजंस टू डेवलप दिस काइंड ऑफ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर वेयर कॉमन पीपल वुड फील ओनरशिप अबाउट इट। ओनरशिप और इन्वॉल्वमेंट है तो फिर आपको कुछ चीजें सैक्रिफाइस करनी पड़ती है, जमीन छोड़नी पड़ती है, उसके अगेंस्ट कॉम्पेंसेशन आपको 4 टाइम्स मिल रहा है, आपको टैक्स देना पड़ रहा है, टोल देना पड़ रहा है, लेकिन आपका स्पीड बढ़ रहा है। पीपल आर रेडी टू दिस, यू कैन चार्ज अस बट यू गिव अस सर्विसेज, इस माइंडसेट में, क्योंकि ह्यूज मिडिल क्लास आपने इतना क्रिएट कर लिया है, तो उसका माइंडसेट भी अभी एस्पिरेशनल है, एस्पिरेशनल सोसाइटी।
I have a question for Tandon on some of the other initiatives which are making or which are reshaping in a way India's urban landscape. We know rapid urbanization has been happening. There are missions like the Smart City mission. There is metro network expansion in major cities. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. How do you think these have not just transformed the physical infrastructure, which is visible, but also given us a quality life, changed the overall experience of people, especially those who didn't dream of that life, but this government has made that happen?
The expansion of rural housing is a huge success story. And what's more heartening, that houses are being registered in the names of the woman of the family. That changes the way the society looks at people. That also changes the way families give back to societies. Because if women are in charge, things are 100 times better than when men are in charge. Let me put it that way. And of course, like you said, the Smart City mission is picking up. It needs to gather more pace. But in the physical infrastructure realm, what is the most defining transformation in the past 11 years is the number of 2-lane, 4-lane highways that we used to have doubled or increased 3 times from the past. A phenomenal figure came up recently that last year in November of 2024, India's domestic air traffic in a given day touched 5 lakh. So what has happened because of the creation of the digital infrastructure plus the physical infrastructure is that we now are the second largest road network in the world and the third largest domestic air traffic network in the world. So that is the scale on which we are talking.
इन 11 years में इंफ्रा पर हमारा फोकस ये बताता है कि विकास हमारी कितनी बड़ी प्रायोरिटी है। इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर यानी लोगों के जीवन में आसानी, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर यानी व्यापार कारोबार में आसानी, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर यानी रोजगार के लाखों नए अवसरों का निर्माण और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर यानी तेज विकास।
Judicial and legal reforms.
I'll now jump to the judicial and legal reforms because a lot of life-changing reforms have happened over the last decade or so, especially the triple talaq ban, the abrogation of Article 370, the passage of the new criminal laws. We've done away with the obsolete laws. भारत की सुशासन यात्रा में आप कैसे इनका मूल्यांकन करते हैं? How have they contributed to this governance journey and the transformation that we are speaking about today?
राज्य और सामान्य व्यक्ति उनके आपस का संबंध जो है वहाँ के कानून जो होते हैं, लॉज जो होते हैं वो डिफाइन करते हैं। हमारे यहाँ पे इस सरकार ने 1428 लॉज जो है वो रिपील किए हैं। मतलब कौन से ऐसे लॉज बने हुए थे? सिनेमेटोग्राफी एक्ट, किस चीज की परमिशन है तो आपको एक नॉर्मल शूट करने के लिए, मतलब आज आप क्या इस मोबाइल की जमाने में इमेजिन कर सकते हो कि हम यहाँ पे स्टूडियो में बैठे हुए और यहाँ बैठे बैठे कोई यहाँ का एम्प्लॉय आएगा, हमको शूट करेगा, वो सोशल मीडिया में भी डालेगा। ऐसे जहाँ पे ये है वहां पे किसी जमाने का सिनेमाटोग्राफी एक्ट काम कर रहा था। दूसरा जो लैंडमार्क आप कहे, चाहे ट्रिपल तलाक वाला हो, 370 वाला हो या 35A जम्मू कश्मीर के संबंध में, ये लैंडमार्क इसलिए थे क्योंकि वो हमारे संविधान निर्माताओं का जो थॉट प्रोसेस था उसके स्पिरिट के अनुसार। 370 एक टेम्पररी प्रोविजन था, पूरे देश भर के लिए ठीक हो सकता है, वो संविधान जम्मू कश्मीर के लिए क्यों खराब होगा, ये मूलभूत प्रश्न था। लेकिन वो स्पेशल स्टेटस के नाम पर राजनीति हुई। लेकिन उसके साथ साथ जो हो रहा था कि गवर्नेंस में कोई अकाउंटेबिलिटी नहीं थी, महिलाओं का पार्टिसिपेशन नहीं था, पंचायती राज इलेक्शन नहीं हो रहे थे, SC/ST का आरक्षण वहां पे लागू नहीं होता था पॉलिटिकल रिप्रेजेंटेशन में। ये एक एक्ट जाने के कारण जो बदलाव आया है, तो मुझे लगता है कि वैसे ही ट्रिपल तलाक के बारे में अनफॉर्चुनेटली मोस्ट ऑफ दिस इश्यूज वी हैव दिस सेक्युलर कम्युनल माइंडसेट कि हम इसको रिलीजियस टर्म्स में ही देखते हैं, हम उसको गवर्नेंस या कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल टर्म्स में नहीं देख पाते। इंसिडेंट ट्रिपल तलाक ये बहुत सारे इस्लामिक देशों में भी बैन है, तो भारत के मुस्लिम महिलाओं के लिए कैसे ठीक हो सकता है?
1500 से अधिक पुराने कानून जो बाबा आदम के जमाने के थे, उन सबको हमने खत्म कर दिया है। हमने दर्जनों कानूनों को सरल करने के लिए संसद में जाकर के जनता के हितों को सर्वोपरि रख करके बदलाव किए। अंग्रेजों के जमाने से दंड संहिता में हम दबे पड़े थे, दंड का भय दिखा करके जीवन चल रहा था। 75 साल आजादी के ऐसे ही गए। हमने दंड संहिता को खत्म कर दिया, न्याय संहिता को ले आए हैं। न्याय संहिता में भारत के नागरिक के प्रति विश्वास का भाव है।
Beyond these policies, the reforms, the changes that we've spoken about, there are so many, we couldn't actually mention each one of them. But I think what's driving all of this is the change in mindset, the confidence that comes from the government, but also the participation from the citizens, which is driving us towards the transformation that we visualized, and we are seeing it in front of our eyes. Hopefully, we'll all pull it together to 2047, when India will become hopefully a Viksit Bharat in the next few years. But time allows us to take up only that much on this conversation. I would like to thank both of you for joining us on this program and sharing your thoughts, your views with us and our listeners.
Thank you.
विशेष श्रृंखला सेवा पर्व के पहले संस्करण में आप सुन रहे थे बड़े सुधारों से सुशासन की ओर बढ़ता भारत। इसमें भाग ले रहे थे राजनीतिक विश्लेषक प्रफुल्ल केतकर और वरिष्ठ पत्रकार अदिति टंडन। कार्यक्रम का संचालन कर रही थी पत्रकार टीना झा। यह कार्यक्रम आकाशवाणी के समाचार सेवा प्रभाग द्वारा प्रस्तुत किया गया। इसे आप हमारे मोबाइल ऐप न्यूज ऑन AIR, यूट्यूब चैनल न्यूज ऑन AIR ऑफिशियल और प्रसार भारती के OTT प्लेटफॉर्म वेव्स पर भी सुन सकते हैं। इस कार्यक्रम के संबंध में अपनी प्रतिक्रिया आप हमें ईमेल या व्हाट्सएप के माध्यम से भेज सकते हैं। ईमेल का पता है AIRNSTtalks@gmail.com और व्हाट्सएप नंबर है 9289094044।
You were listening to the first episode of the special series Seva Parv, Transforming Governance Through Bold Reforms. The participants were Prafulla Ketkar, political analyst, and Aditi Tandon, senior journalist. Moderator was Tina Jha, journalist. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official, and on Prasar Bharati's OTT platform, Waves. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsttalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 9289094044.